Now here is a fragrance that I think surprised a lot of people. This is from the brand Chanel, and it's been such a long time since we've gotten an Allure flanker. This is Allure Homme Sport SUPERLEGGERA. SUPERLEGGERA is an Italian word, and it's a term that means super light. It was originally a construction term, and it referred to the way that the aluminum can be manufactured to make a car faster. Nevertheless, I think it's a pretty cool concept. How does that translate in terms of a scent or a smell? Well, of course, if you're familiar with the Chanel Allure Homme line, there's been so many great ones. Edition Blanche, the original Sport. I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on this one very soon, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin today's episode and I give you my thoughts on the brand new Chanel Allure Homme Sport SUPERLEGGERA, I'll talk to you about the performance, the longevity, comparisons, how it evolves on my skin, and how I think it stacks up against its predecessors, specifically the original Allure Homme Sport. I want to start the video off first by saying that if you're a fan of fragrance-related content, and of course, if you love smelling your best, hit subscribe, hit the bell, and give this video a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. It would really mean a lot to me. So I have purchased every single Chanel fragrance that came out. I have the original. Edition Blanche is one that I truly love. I know there's been so much hype on that one over the past few years, that creamy, lemony cake experience that people talk about. Well, the brand new SUPERLEGGERA, of course, this has a lot of citrus, clean musks, this mandarin orange ingredient in the opening, touches of bergamot. You also have a hint of patchouli in the dried down, not overly earthy. But of course, what does the name entail as far as it pertains to this fragrance? Are we expecting something that is super light, as in it's going to be diffusive or it's not going to last? Thankfully, that's not the case. I've spent a considerable amount of time with this one. It happens to be my scent of the day today. I can tell you this is a fragrance that lasts. There's lasting power, there's tenacity, but of course you can only go so far with citrus and woods, right? I think ultimately people who are going to be getting this are people who are seeking compliments. They want that mass appealing, friendly DNA. In any case, I'm going to talk to you about the smell in a second. Let's take a quick look at the presentation first. So right in the opening of this fragrance, you're immediately going to be reminded, and of course, if you have experience with it and if you own it or if you've smelled it, you're going to be reminded of Chanel's Allure Homme Sport. No doubt about it. The original Allure, very nice. Edition Blanche, a bit on the sweeter side of things, touches of vanilla. This creamy tonka bean thing happening in the dry down, I really do enjoy it. When it comes to SUPERLEGGERA, yes, you're going to be dealing with something citrus heavy, at least initially, and then it's going to transition to something that surprisingly, and this is where I say, I don't think this is following the trends too much. Instead, it's really just trying to create more of a parallel with its predecessors. You're not going to get a lot of aromatic ingredients. Now, am I saying they're not in here? Of course not. But I think as far as my nose can perceive initially, I'm getting more of these connections to the original versus an attempt to do something that conforms to what other brands have been doing on the market as of late. And I know perfumer Olivier Polge is not going to do that. He's not going to conform to, perhaps what other designer brands are doing with their popular releases. The reason I say this is because a lot of fragrances nowadays, they're utilizing a lot of clary sage and a lot of sclarine molecule and a lot of lavender and even rosemary or thyme, what have you. This fragrance, you smell it, you're like, yeah, it has that bright citrusy, woodsy, musky appeal of the original Chanel's Allure Homme Sport. So again, very fresh, very vivacious. If you like citrus, you're going to love the opening of this fragrance. And the musks in here are very clean. The woods are very smooth. It has this refined quality about it. And, with something like this, I would say it just screams casual. I think this one is very casual, but I can see how the refinement of the citrus might almost leave one to want to wear this one in a formal scenario as well. And I've always said that about fragrances like Terre d'Hermès, for example. I think that's a great formal fragrance because the citrus makes it very clean and refined. And, had this been a bit more aquatic leaning, for example, maybe even ozonic, not aquatic, but ozonic, I would have said this is 100% casual. So I do perceive some flexibility in here as far as when it comes to what what occasion to wear this one in. Seasons, however, I think it's limited. If you're gonna wear it in a climate-controlled environment, then you can defenestrate everything that I'm about to say. However, if you're gonna be wearing this one chiefly outdoors, spring and summer, I think is the best time for this one. Now, again, the name SUPERLEGGERA, no, it's not super light or an extra light fragrance. I think this one has the boldness to it. I think you are gonna get some decent sustenance from this one. The fixatives are being utilized very nicely to kind of create this long-lasting attribute, but ultimately this is gonna be a citrus-heavy fragrance, so I just want you to know what you're signing up for, right? I think Chanel has a lot of other heavier fragrances, even something like Bleu de Chanel Parfum. That fragrance, yeah, it's a bit more on the heavy side of things, and I admire it for that. Now this fragrance, it's a bit lighter, a bit fresher, a bit more casual leaning, so I think ultimately, you know, the determination is up to you, right? It's something that's going to cater to your personal taste. Do I prefer something a bit more formal or elegant? Do I prefer something a bit more casual, chill, laid back? So ultimately, try it for yourself, see how it corresponds with your skin chemistry. I always make these suggestions in my videos, but yes, this is a solid release. And I do like the red touches on the bottle. It makes enough of a distinction among the others in the collection so that when you're looking at it at the sales counter, you're not gonna get confused. There isn't gonna be any hiccup there. But nevertheless, Chanel Allure Homme Sport SUPERLEGGERA. Try this one if you want something versatile, citrus heavy, compliment getting. I think it's great. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, yes, you will be reminded of Chanel's Allure Homme Sport. So there is that bridge that is erected there connecting the two, but I personally find that this one is a bit fresher. So this is not a comparison video by any means. Perhaps in the future I will consider doing one, but I think that this one opens up very fresh and it has this sort of overdose of citrus in the opening that I think is going to contribute and ultimately does contribute to its mass appeal. Longevity, 7 hours on skin, projection beyond an arm's length. For the first hour of application, it became an elbow's length scent right around hour 4 or 5. Again, it depends on your skin chemistry. Versatility on this one, very versatile as far as occasions are concerned, even though I would argue it's a bit more casual leaning, but I can see somebody wanting to use a more floral DNA in fragrances to convey a formal vibe, right? So a citrus can always be thought of as a formal thing. And so for me, it's a bit more casual because of the citrus, but that's given the fact that I do have a lot of fragrances. So when I'm trying to stack them up against other fragrances that I have that could potentially be very good formal options, I think there are a lot more that I would, or my mind would turn to before it turns to this one. But hotter weather, ideal, anybody of any age, and yeah, inevitably it's masculine leaning. As far as the presentation is concerned, I like the presentation. My final verdict on this fragrance is if you want something citrus heavy, smooth woods, not too earthy, clean musks, fairly long lasting, I would say slightly above average performance, but something that is a compliment getter, and I think a good addition to the Chanel Allure lineup, check out Allure Homme Sport SUPERLEGGERA. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you took something of value from this review. And of course, if you did, please do consider supporting the channel by clicking subscribe, hitting the bell, and giving this video a thumbs up. It would really mean a lot to me. Your support is always appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all, and we'll see you tomorrow with a new episode. Bye.